we start. Maureen Odour is from Kenya and is on adolescent sexual and reproductive health. She's very, I can say very active in this. Even when you go to her social media lines in Facebook, she comments all the time about the same thing. And development specialist by profession with over 10 years of experience in working directly in grassroots communities around East Africa and beyond. Actually, I can also attest on the same. And advancing adolescent girls and women access to comprehensive health policies, advocacy, and budgeting processes. She's a woman with a very good CV. Let's remind our friends also to keep on joining, please, as we are almost starting as we continue. So currently, Maureen works as an advocacy officer with the DSW International, that's German Foundation for World Population. Maureen is a founder of Circles of Adolescents Health Kenya grassroots organization that works towards holistic adolescent healthcare in Kenya. Maureen has vast project management skills. That's why she's among us today to help us through. Substantial skills in adolescent sexual health, programming ranging from designing, implementing, and managing small and large-scale projects in East Africa, funded by Amplified Change Fund. Family Planning 2020, USAID Women Deliver, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She's well equipped with skills around sexual rights advocacy and community mobilization skills. Equipped with smart advocacy skills, successfully served as the youth envoy pushing for inclusion of ASRH within the current SDGs agenda. She's a very strong woman. She helped develop policy advocacy strategy for the successful marriage age definition in Tanzanian parliament. Maureen has voiced sexual rights issues at very high level spaces such as speaking roles at the United Nations General Assembly meetings in New York and at the African Union meetings in Addis Ababa. That is just a brief summary of Maureen, but there's more and a lot about her. So I think now it's 6 minutes past, so I guess we can start. Welcome, Maureen. We are here to learn, all of us, and I'm sure we will gain something at the end of this session. Thank you. Welcome everyone and feel at home. When you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand or you can type the questions in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a very warm welcome. I'm really so privileged to be talking to you this afternoon, the WMI scholars and alumni. I am so privileged that today I have this opportunity to share with you the very important topic we'll be talking about on how to start an NGO. I think before I dive into this topic or I dive into speaking my points today, I will just invite all of us who are here to observe a moment of silence towards our departed head of state for Tanzania. So just 1 minute as we remember the departed soul. Yeah, thank you so much. And we pray that may Almighty God rest his soul in peace. Now, there is the subject of NGO. I think it is something that we've been interacting with so much. And this webinar, we are going just to share experience on how does it happen, what does it mean, and what are some of the baselines within our different countries around the world. I'll start by briefly explaining what an NGO is, because we have so many also non-profit entities which may not be NGO. So in brief, NGO as an abbreviation of non-governmental organization. These are organizations that are they are organizations that individuals are given permission to run within different states. So when you're running an NGO, it's not very different from business that you see people running their businesses. The only big difference is when you're running an NGO in most of our countries, it is non-profit. So you don't expect to be making a lot of profit on it, but other commitments of running an NGO remains just like any other business that you may be running, and as long as it has to be successful. Having said that, so the big catch there is most of them are non-profit, and therefore you must have a bigger share of community welfare. You must have that bigger share that it is community that is going to benefit. So it comes with community benefit, society benefit, and also not for profit. So I think that will be cutting across all our countries across the world when it comes to the matter of NGO. The second thing to highlight about NGO, it has structures, which most of these structures have been captured within the laws in our country. For example, when I want to register an NGO in Kenya, there is what the law of Kenya requires. There are those steps that I have to go through. There are things I have to do for me to be given permission to run an NGO. And that is what you want to dwell with. This one also goes through to other organizations, other countries. You'll find that within the law of the country, therefore, the registration of NGO is highly stipulated. Therefore, that is what you're going to discuss. For example, with the baseline of Kenya, in Kenya, you cannot just say you are running an organization or an NGO without registration certificate from the government. If you do that, it will be legal and it can land you into serious problems. Therefore, when you want to register an NGO, you have to follow the processes that I will be talking about in a few seconds. The first thing is we have the preparation phase. The preparation phase is I call it the mother phase, the root phase, meaning that for your organization, even to succeed after registration, therefore this first phase has to be well thought of. This include, you must have identified problems within your country that you want your NGO to solve. Because NGO, as I had said, they're there to solve community issues. So as the person who wants to register or a pioneer, you must identify these problems. I can give a baseline of the organization I have registered and is currently, I just received the registration certificate. I identified that adolescents' health had a lot of gaps from my community. You find that healthcare systems are not favoring adolescents. They tend, and it is a bit structural. You look at the laws, the policies, the budgeting processes for adolescent health are not being done well. So that was the problem I had identified. While you are identifying these problems, you have to identify them with evidence. Evidence include the research outcomes in your country around that subject, or you can do a baseline for yourself. You can do a desk review for yourself to gather enough evidence. Having identified the problem, the next thing you have to think about is mission and vision for your organization. So you have to say, what is your mission? What do you want to do? What will it be existing for? So you must have that mission, and then you have to have vision. What do you want to see? In case all your mission goes right, how do you want to see? What kind of change do you want to see in that area where you will want to work? Having done that, now you have to identify people within that community or within your country who are also willing to solve the same problem. They may not be in the organization, or some may be in the organization. And this can be part of your board members. Reason being, NGOs, you cannot run them alone as an individual. You must run it in a structured way. Therefore, it is always run. You have to come up with a board of directors, board of governors, who are going to help you run the organization. They should be experts who understands your subject, who also share with you that that zeal of change. So they come together to support you on this course. So you have to put your board together. Having put your board together, and in Kenya, the board has to be it has to be a minimum of 5 people. So these 5 people, but it can be more. You can even have like 10 people to be in that board. After doing that, as a team, you should now think about what is the name of your organization. If you're starting this organization, how are you going to call it? So the board members plus yourself, you can suggest names, and probably the name that will have captured everyone, a good name that people will want to, to resonate with. Then now you'll be good, like you have the name, you have the board, you've identified the problem. The board members should agree that indeed you need to be legally registered. We have organizations who then we can't call them NGOs because they are not registered, yet they still do community work. But now when you want to legally get registered, the process continues. So after getting the name and you have the board members, you must have the first board meeting. So you convene the first board meeting where the board members will vote for different positions. You're going to elect the board chair, the secretary, the treasurer, and and all that you will have agreed. During that meeting also, if the board wants that organization to be registered, then it will be minuted. You will have to minute it that we have agreed that this organization with the name as Circles for Adolescent Health Kenya be registered in Kenya as an NGO. So that is minuted in your first meeting for the board. And then the same day or within that meeting, it will also be discussed and agreed upon that the organization, the board members have agreed to register the organization. Those 2 points are very important to be minuted during that meeting, because those minutes are going to work for you during registration once the papers have been forwarded to the authorities. So that one happens. After it has been agreed that yes, the registration is going to happen. Now, like in Kenya, the body that registers NGO is called National NGO Board. National NGO Board in Kenya, they have 3 offices. The main office is in Nairobi. They do have another office in North Rift, somewhere called Eldoret, and another one in another city called Kisumu on the western side. So having done that, it means you've already started putting down your documentation to be forwarded to the registering body. Now in Kenya, when you go to the website of NGO Council, they have also included in their website, they have included the documentation that you have to forward to them for registration to happen. So one of them, of course, is the minutes I've talked about. Another one is the identification and police clearance of all your board members. So your board members have to give you the copy of their identification. It could be passport or the national identification. And also the police clearance form. Like in Kenya, we have the police clearance form. In the US, I think they have the FBI clearance form. And for example, if I have a board member who is not a Kenyan, then whatever they use in their country will apply. They will bring, and then I will be able to forward the same. So you put that together. Very important, together with your board members, you must make a constitution for your organization. So you are going to draw a constitution. Constitution stipulates how that organization will be run. You will show how the everything will be done. It is just a normal constitution like the ones we know. But now this is specific to this kind of organization. So you are going to put there you are going also to forward the constitution to the NGO board. Another document that you have to forward are their forms they are going to give you to fill in some details. So get that form and fill in the details quite so well. Then finally, you write them an application letter. You write an application letter to the NGO board, asking them that we are forwarding our documents for review and possible registration. Normally, this process, after you forwarded all the information required, there will be a lot of back and forth. The NGO Council will look at your constitution, and they will come back with questions here and there, asking you just for clarity. And if they realize there is something you didn't do right also, they will get back to you and ask you to, do it correctly, especially when it comes to the forms that you have to fill in. You have to fill in. At times you may not do it correctly. So when they receive those documents, they will always come back and communicate that you have to do this in a way that they want. So what happens is during that back and forth, it can take a really long time because they really want to be very sure. You know, in our countries, we even have the terrorism laws. So the NGO, unfortunately, is somehow also looked at with the terrorism law, where the country just tries to be very sure that this organization may not be an organization that will encourage things like terrorism or trafficking and so many funny bad things that are happening in our world today. So because of that, so back and forth will be there, and therefore you have to be on alert during that time to always react or always respond to the kind of questions that comes from the NGO Council to you. So after that has happened and all your documentation looks good, they will be forwarded to the board of the NGO Council for vetting and registration. So after back and forth here with the officers at the NGO Council, when your file looks good, it will be forwarded. When it has been forwarded, they sit in Kenya, they sit once per quarter, annually per quarter. So like January to March, they sit once. So they sit once in a quarter to now register the files that have been taken to them after verification and after every other thing has been done well. So that is what happened. And the moment they sit, they look at your file, they debate among themselves. And from there, a feedback will come to you very fast. If there is something they want you to work on, they will tell you, we are not satisfied, kindly work on your objectives. They don't look so clear. So they will communicate back and tell you that. If it is okay, they will communicate to you again to inform you that your organization has been registered. And now you can find time. They will always give you options of time to go and collect your certificate. Like for example, on my case, They called immediately and we scheduled when I could go collect my certificate, and I did that. So until you collect your certificate, that is when until you have the certificate, that is now when we can say that your organization has been registered. Probably if I move you back a bit, during the name, when you've decided on the name, it's just, you have to decide on at least three names, three different names. Reason being, those names, you'll take them to the NGO council and they will be checked if someone else is already using them. So they'll put them in their system and they'll check. So if they find one of them no one is using, then you'll be allowed to use that name. But if they realize that the three names you forwarded, already other organizations have been registered on the same, then they will tell you to change the name. So that is also very important. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell how the process looks like. I think if there are any questions, I'll be very glad to receive those questions, because this process, it's really nice to hear from somebody who have worked it, because I worked it and I really wanted to have someone who has done. Unfortunately, I didn't get that opportunity. So questions come quite so handy.
Thank you, Maureen. So far in our Q&A question, there are no questions. I don't know, members, is there anyone who has a question? Maybe you can raise up your hand, then ask the question so that she can answer as she moves on. So I'm seeing there's another question. So there's a question for you, Maureen. Do you need a lawyer? And how much does it cost to register in your country? Thank you, Maureen. Eric.
Yeah, I'll go with one question because there are not so many, so I can just go with the one question. Thank you so much. I don't know who asked that, but thank you so much. Yes, you need a lawyer, because lawyer comes handy so much, especially when you're working on your constitution. And what I can advise is, when you are constituting your board members, try and find a legal personnel onto it. Try and find a lawyer to be part of your board, because that's what I did. Because yeah, that's what I did. Being that when you want to use or when you want to access legal services and it's not part of your organization, you're also likely to part with a lot of money. And by this time, you don't have so much money to spend. You just have money for registration. And when everything comes up now, you can go and fundraise. So yes, you will find yourself, you need a lawyer at some point to check on your constitution and also to walk you around this process. And the best thing is get the lawyer to be part of your board. Now on the fees, yes, there are fees that you have to pay when you are submitting your papers for processing. And in Kenya, we register with the money we pay is $160. That is 16,000 Kenya shillings for now. That is the money you pay at the bank, and then you attach that receipt together with the hard copies that you are submitting at the NGO council. Yeah.
Thank you, Maureen. There's still another question from Isaac. He's saying, thank you very much for the brilliant presentation, Maureen. I would like to know if there's any money payment in applying for the certificate.
Thank you so much, Isaac. The money you pay is not actually for certificate, because certificates, we don't pay any money. The money you pay is for the government processes, and you pay it to the government account. But once this process works and the NGO council are convinced about your organization, then they will just print for you a certificate, call you, and hand it over to you. So apart from the $160 you pay during submission of your papers to the NGO council, you're not supposed to pay any amount again. That's all you're supposed to pay, and you don't pay specifically for the certificate. That is for that long process that I had mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we can, yes, we can continue. Isaac is happy with the answer.
Yes. More questions I can see. If I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. So the next question is asking is, do you have to periodically renew your certificates? How often do you renew the certificates?
We don't renew the certificate like in Kenya. Once you are registered, you remain registered. The only thing you need to do periodically is you need to always report to the NGO council annually. So you need to do for them what you call annual report. You share with them what you're doing. It's just like an update, because you see, this is the NGO coordination board. They're in charge of seeing what the NGO does, credibility of the NGO, and at times they are even in charge of bargaining for the NGO community within the government. So they will only ask you to be doing your annual reporting to them. So they see this year, this particular NGO was to worked on 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you don't renew the certificate.
Thank you, Maureen. There is also, I don't know, what do you think? Will you continue, or I continue reading the other questions which are here?
Yeah, can you just continue with the, yeah.
Okay. So Peter is asking, Peter has 2 questions. One, are NGOs required to file tax returns? And then the second one, can NGO be considered dormant if it doesn't carry out any activities over a certain period of time?
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter. Yes, NGOs file tax return in Kenya, like any other person or any other entity. Remember, at one point, the NGO will even be having staffs. They will be able to employ staffs. Those staffs will be paying taxes, and they also pay tax. They have been exempted on some category of taxation because they're not making profit, but there are tax that still remain. Like, for example, when those employees who serve in that organization has to pay tax, okay? So when they're paying tax, then the NGO has to file also the tax return. But these are the much we collected and we took to the government. Yeah, so that is very critical, and that one happens. That's why after you've registered, you are going to have what you call PIN certificate for the NGO. So you have to get PIN from the Kenya Revenue Authority, and you'll be using that in all your tax-related issues. Another thing on dormancy, yes, if you're very dormant, if you just registered your NGO and you're not doing anything with it, I think the NGO council would come in and discuss the same with you and ask whether you still need to be registered or not. Reason being, as I have said, every year you have to give report to the NGO council. Remember when you wanted registration, you said, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 to this community, but now you are not doing it. So I am not sure of the penalty that can be pegged on the fact that someone is not, is just dormant. But what I am sure is the NGO council are likely to pick it up and find out why. If it is issues about funding, it has to come out. It is funding you've not gotten. That's why you're still dormant. But now, if it is just like you are no longer interested, then I think they can pick it up and see how well they are going to put up your issue. Yeah. So dormancy is not a very good thing. As long as you have already registered, you need to be very active. Otherwise, you can easily be deregistered with them. Yeah, because remember, after registration, also, if you're not doing what you said you are going to do, Like, for example, I have registered an NGO that should work on adolescent health. But all of a sudden, they realize now, I am working on something very different. Let's say, I don't even know which one. Let's say mining, you know? I was not given permission to work on mining. I was given permission to work on adolescent health. So with that, NGO Council can simply deregister me and they can tell me, go and register effectively. Tell us what you really want to do. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We still have some more questions.
Yes.
So George is asking,
Yes.
so who owns the NGO after registration? Is it the board or the CEO?
After registration, the board, oh, he said, is it the board or the CEO? The NGO is owned by the board because the CEO is an appointee of the board. And in some circumstances, in organizations which are well established, they are employees. So CEOs is paid by the organization to work, but the sole ownership of the organization is with the board. And remember, even the board, for them to make some decisions about the organization, there should be a threshold. If there are 10, then at least 6 should be making the decision. So it is board members put together. What I mean there is the chair cannot just make a decision like that, but it is the chair plus all the other, and voting has to happen so that key decisions are done within that organization. That's a very good question. So once you are registered, that organization is owned by the board. The board members are the owners. The CEO is part of the board, but this is an appointee of the board members to work on their behalf, because most of the time CEOs run the day-to-day activities of the organization on behalf of the board members. I hope I've answered that well. Yes.
George, I hope you are satisfied. So there's another question from Arik. I think somehow you've answered it now. How do you engage board members to do it for free? What motivates them? And then another question here, also from him, how do you survive if you are doing NGO work for free? Do you work alongside your NGO? You've got any question?
Okay, thank you. Yes, I got it. Because it is a bit long, could you just repeat the first? I answer the first, then you give me I answer the second.
Okay. So how do you engage the board members to do it for free? What motivates them?
Yeah, thank you so much. So usually board members, that one comes from the selection, because these board members, they're not going to be employees of the organization. So it cannot be someone who needs to earn money directly from the organization. Therefore, when you're selecting your board or when you're inviting people to be your board members, you have to do it very carefully and very tactfully, keeping in mind that you're not going to pay them, or they're not going to be employees of this organization, even when you have a lot of funding. They remain doing oversight role. So while doing this oversight role, or while having said that, now I think you can picture the kind of people who can be in the board. These are people who are so busy with their lives. They have their jobs, they have their businesses, but they have that quest to change the community. Yeah. So when you talk to them and say, oh, come, the experience you've had, let's say it's a very senior doctor who works at the medical research center. Then you talk to this medical doctor and ask, you've been in health for a very long time. I am starting something here on adolescent health. You never know. Maybe his research is also based on the adolescent health. then he will see. Because remember, not everyone will want to join the development world because they want to make money. Some of them, they want just to, they want somewhere where they can give back. They want somewhere where they can as well find find a space to practice what they do best well. So find a number of these people. That is the best. But when you find people who are also still running and I mean, who will be looking forward that the organization has to employ them, it will be a bit trickier for you because that expectation will be too much for you to, I mean, get it. So my answer there is your board members should be people who are also busy with their lives elsewhere, and they want to give back to the community, or they want to give back to their professions. It can be maybe somehow a retired accountant. He can come in and, you know, he can be the treasurer for the board, who can look at the money, how money is being used and all that. So that is very, very important. You're not going to employ them. They have to be busy with their lives elsewhere. But here they are to give back. Yeah. In a way that they also feel rewarded. You know, that's why I said you have to find people who have somehow similar quests for changing community as yourself. Yeah. So that one I've answered part one. Part two?
Part two is how do you survive if you're doing NGO work for free? Do you work alongside your NGO?
It depends with who. If it is board members, already I've articulated that the board members, the good board members will be people who are just, they are able to come in and assist you build the organization. Therefore, it means there's something they're bringing in and they're bringing in, they're bringing in for the purpose of fulfilling their life quest. Yeah, and I'm not saying that the board members entirely, there is nothing they can get from their organization. It depends with the constitution. If the constitution says there are some allowances that board members get after some time, that will happen. Remember, all these things will be stipulated in the constitution. Now, when it comes to, I don't know whether he meant myself like the director, that how can you work for free? Yeah, so if it is the CEO, like myself now me, the organization, when the organization is growing and we have funding, then I'm eligible for my time to be paid by that organization. So it's not going to be free. The time the organization, after it has fundraised and it has work it is doing, you'll realize that you are going to be paid. But for now, we are just starting, you'll find that all of us are having paid jobs. All of us are having paid jobs. So because we cannot be there 100%, but we are shaping up things. So when the organization will be busier, then it will be able to pay for the people who will be there for full time. Otherwise, you cannot just, you also have your time, your life to go on. You have your bills to pay. You cannot just do it like that for free. Yeah. I hope that is well answered.
Yes. Yes. Eric, I hope you are satisfied. Thank you very much. Then we don't have any other more questions. We don't have any other more questions at the moment. So maybe you can just continue with the presentation, and I will alert you if there are any other questions coming up.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Now, after I have explained this process, at times, one thing I really want to express or stress is when you want to start an NGO, you really have to be ready for it, because the back and forth aspect I mentioned sometimes back, it can be a bit at times very frustrating, you know, and then the speed also at times becomes very slow. I know a number of you have registered CBOs, and in Kenya we register CBOs at the county level. Now NGO is at another level. I mean, the kind of work you do to register CBO is almost twice as the one you're going to use to register an NGO. Being that, remember, an NGO gives you certification to work across the country, yet CBO will give you a certification to work within stipulated area. So that huge geographical parameter of work, for the government to give you, to trust you with that, they really have to do a lot of due diligence. So you have to think about it. You have to really be also calm within the process. I've seen so many people start and leave it along the way because they're like, oh, that is very, you know, that process looks funny. But if you stand with it and you do the processes as they come, you answer all the questions from the NGO council, you do all the follow-ups, I rest assure you that at the end of the day, you are going to be registered. And that one is going to give you a scope for work. Very important also, we actually, my dream of registering an NGO was started way back when I just applied for my Wells Mountain Initiative scholarship long time ago when I was in university. Because I wrote there in my form that I will lead community initiative back in my village. I lead community. It was like a covenant I had written, like I'll do this at one day, so that within my village also, some people can access the same resources I accessed from the WMI during that time. So you can imagine, from that time, I have been preparing myself psychologically for this kind of work. I've been thinking through. I came down, I start speaking to people. My board members come from all over the world. I have a board member in Japan. I have another one in New Zealand. I have a number of them in the US. I have a number of them here. I have a number of them in UK. So with me, I have two board units. I have the board of governors, the ones that now we've used to register, and then I have advisory board. So the advisory board comes from, you know, that scope. So you really have to think through. So that is something I couldn't do within a fortnight or just waking up and I'm done. Think through it, put yourself together, put your documentation together, and the big thing is what drives you. If you really feel I need to see this change, this is what is driving me, go for NGO. If you don't feel it, if you don't feel that thing, you don't feel that I have to go, I have to bring people together, I have to assist my community, I have to bring change, it may look a bit cumbersome for you. But when you do it, like right now, I am really so happy with myself, because eventually I will have reached the covenant I had made so many years ago with WMI, that you support me, I'll support others, because now I will be I'll be strategically inclined to support others. And that's my vision with my organization, and that's the reason I had to walk through this. Very important to note, since I did the constitution, since my organization did the constitution, until now the registration is out, it's 2.5 years. Now you see the back and forth and the period. It can take a while. I'm not saying in your case it will also take the same, but I decided to be very thorough. With my work. And that's the reason I was like, I have to take more time, but eventually I'm really ready to face it, because it needs that courage to face the world as someone who is running an organization. Yeah. So that is something that I wanted to add on to it, that zeal has to drive you. Passion has to drive you. Prepare well. Put up your things. Don't go wrong with the board members. And from there, you will find everything of yours in this whole process going very smooth and also very steady. Very important.
Maybe,
Yes.
if I can interrupt you, there's a question. Maybe would you like to answer it now, or we continue first?
Let me just finish my last comment and then I'll answer that question. Thank you so much, dear. So, one thing I will also want to encourage my fellow alumni and even the scholars who are joining into this webinar today, and even those who are going to watch it after today, is we really know that at our prime age, when we are young, right now, we've had opportunity of knowing how to identify our problems. We've had opportunity to knowing how we identify community problems. And one thing, and one very unique fellowships, these fellowships that we've been forming within our countries, and the encouragement, WMI ensures that everybody is volunteering. Everyone is giving back to the community. It cannot just end when you finish your studies. It shouldn't end there. Yeah, me, I finished, I've been lucky to be getting jobs here and there, but still I'm like, we have to do it in a more structured way. And that is the organization. So in the next few years, if we come here again and then we find that probably in Africa or in the world, we have 10 or 15 organizations run by young people, the WMI team, that will be very fantastic. And that one is what we call youth engagement. When we are young, let us engage. And one of the ways to engage is by coming out, leading the process of formation of organizations and running those organizations successfully. It will be one thing that we can all celebrate. Thank you so much. So I can answer the question.
Okay, thank you very much, Maureen. We are learning a lot today. So there's a question from Abel. Okay, let me start the question from Bull. He's asking, after registration, how do you begin getting funds? I think that is very important so that we learn on how to apply for these funds.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Abel.
That is Bull.
Bull, sorry, Bull. Thank you so much, Bull. Now, Bull, this one goes back to your thinking, okay? You are thinking of, I need to have an organization. When you start thinking, things like fundraising will start coming into your mind, okay? And then you will start even practicing fundraising before. You should start thinking about raising money. If your organization will be working on agriculture, you should be inclined within the agriculture non-profit and start getting to know who funds agriculture, where are they, and how do people get funding? Because you even have to learn from the existing organizations. Yeah, you have to learn from the existing organizations. Like I've taken about 7 years just to work within organization setup to learn and see how are donor funding, how do people operate with donor funding? How do people fundraise? That's a very good question, because in NGO, you're not going to do business. So it means that somehow much of your resources will be through donations. So you have to master the act of bringing together donations. You must master that act of making sure that you have donations, and that one is running your organization. So these are things that you have to start thinking about them before. Start getting to learn, do your research, do your desk review. Who funds what? Who funds what? Try and be in such spaces where these fundings are being discussed, and therefore you strategically incline yourself. So that is one way of doing it. Within your country, there will be these donors who give money within the countries. You start reading about them. You start learning who gives money to my country. If it is Kenya, who funds health in Kenya? Who gives money in Kenya? And when is the prime time to start asking for that money? Yeah. So you'll find that those ones comes. Very important. When you're choosing your board members, remember, like in my organization, one big role for board members is fundraising. They help me look for money. Yeah. So when you're choosing your board members, that one should also be at the back of your mind. Can he be somebody who can help you raise money? So you must have they're not going to raise money like in one line, but they at least within them. Maybe one is on the banking industry. They know the foundations within the bank that gives money for nonprofit. Probably one works in the university. So within that university, there are some resources where you can link students to your organization, and therefore you find those resources. One could just be probably someone who is very good in communication, because when you communicate what you do out there, people will be, even donors will be attracted, and they will ask you, why can't we work together? Yeah. So those are some of the ways you can use or think about fundraising, because remember, you can start getting money even before small amount of monies you can get before registration. I've been funded before, and I didn't have organization. West Mountain Initiative has given me money to do some work. I've gotten money from even other organizations without this. So you see, all these things are making you try now, making you to know and to prepare you vividly for very serious, strategic, and robust fundraising. Yeah, so that will be my answer.
Thank you very much. I actually had a question along the same, but I think you've also answered it. So it's
Yes,
actually very important when you're choosing your board members, they should be people who can also, like when you need some help financially, they can be able to chip in. Now the other question,
thank you.
well, it's not about the same and under the same finances. It's not about them chipping in from their pocket. Like there are grants which can be applied. So are board members also allowed to apply for the grants?
Sorry. The board members they cannot apply for their own use. They're applying the application will be done on behalf of the organization. Yeah, okay. So it is like maybe a board member works at Safaricom, and he has realized that Safaricom Foundation is giving money to support girls' education, and that is one of our key objectives. So he will come to the board members and say, guys, we have some funding at Safaricom Foundation. Probably now he knows very clear structures of how that finances can be realized. So you can come, give that hint. And then the team writes a proposal, it's taken to the Safaricom Foundation, and then the organization gets money. Yeah, so they don't really they cannot apply, a single board member like this cannot apply for money for himself. No, it is for the organization. If they raise money, it is for the organization.
Thank you. So yes. There's another question from Abel asking, mostly the founders knows well the main aim and objective of the NGO, even after change of leadership. So now if the board owns the NGO, what does the founder of the NGO stand? Where does the founder of the NGO stand? I think it is following up with the other question where he asked about, is the NGO owned by the CEO or by the board?
Yeah, thank you, Abel. You see, within the board, we have different categories. We have even the structure, the board chair, the board secretary, the board treasurer, and then the secretary is always the CEO, and then we even have board members. Now, you will always realize, even when you read people's profile, then I will say that my name is Maureen, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of this organization. We usually have founders. Within the board, there are founders. There is that one person who invited everyone else, okay? Or those two people who invited everybody else. That guys come, We put this together. So those ones are the co-founders. They could be a founder. If it was one person, they could be a founder. If there were two, then they will call themselves co-founder. It can be 1 or 2 people or 3. Yeah. So then they will still have that, the co-founder ticket. But remember, they are still part of the board. These people are still part of the board. It means that when board is put together, they form the ownership of that organization. I don't know whether that is clear. They cannot be, you cannot separate them and now say that the board is the members put together makes the board. But there will be, in the board, you'll hear there is a founder, there is a co-founder. All you realize that the 2 people, these are our co-founders. It may not be everybody else. Like, for example, the advisory board members, those ones are not even founders. Those ones, in fact, it's the board members who invited them to come in and support the objective of the organization. Yeah, I don't know whether that's clear.
I think on my side it is clear. I don't know if I hope you've been answered. So now I also have another question. The number of members, does it have a maximum number of members which is needed? Like, let's say a maximum of 10, a minimum of 2 for it to be an NGO?
Okay. The number usually is stipulated by the regulating body, which is the NGO Council. And as I said earlier, in Kenya, they require that at least 5 people, at least 5. That is what Kenya requires. You'll realize that in other countries, the requirement may be different. So you can just check on the regulating body and they will have written there, we need a board member to be of this number. So in Kenya, there are 5. Therefore, it means in Kenya, 4 people cannot register an NGO. It has to be 5 and above. Yes.
Thank you. For now, I think we've answered all our questions, unless there are any other more questions which can come in. But also now we've answered the ones which were pending. So maybe you can continue, and then if there's anything, I will also ask. Abel is happy. He has said thank you for the answer.
Yes. How many more minutes do we have?
We have like 15 to 30, depending on how it is. We are at 5, we are 1 hour, and we will finish our 1 hour exactly.
Yes.
So we are doing well on time.
Thank you so much. So in this session, I will want to tackle the types of NGOs, because I wouldn't want to put it as if we are limited. We are not. So within the NGO, you find that we have different NGOs. And this one, I want to categorically explain it around the geographical coverage. Normally, when you are registering, you'll hear people saying national NGO. So we have the national NGOs, and then we have the international NGOs. So the national NGOs are the one which are registered to operate within a country jurisdiction. Within a country's jurisdiction. Like now, COA Kenya has been registered to work in Kenya, so we cannot work in Uganda or Tanzania or US. We will only work within Kenya. Our operations will be within Kenya. Then you have also an international organization, NGO, an international NGO. Now, international NGOs, these are the NGOs that tend to cross-cut within other countries. You will realize that they have a presence in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, where you'll find them with different offices within those countries. Now, if you are thinking somehow that one day you want to register such like an organization, it is very much, it's something that is doable. And I will give a bit of very basic steps for the same. Usually they will require you to start by registering in one organization within one country. That will act like the headquarter. For example, now, my organization, Circles for Adolescent Health, has been registered in Kenya. So if I want it to have international presence in other countries, it means I must have registered in Kenya. And then now, using that registration, I will go to Tanzania, for example, and go to the NGO board or NGO regulatory board entity in that country and apply for the presence. For example, here in Kenya, when such NGO come, what they look at is, first of all, they will ensure that it is registered elsewhere, let's say in the US, and not they want to have a presence in Kenya. That is one. Two, they will also check on the board members. So another rule that you'll see them putting is some board, the international NGOs, they will have a wider board. Why? Some board members must come from that country that you want to have presence into. For example, if it is Kenya, then some board members have to be gotten who are locals of Kenya to be in their board. And then it goes through other the remaining processes, just like registering here. The amount of registration is also a bit higher than when you're registering a national NGO. So you'll realize that you have to pay that amount. And then vetting goes on. They look at your organization. They use your previous work where you were illegally registered before. And then if it looks very well, they're likely to give you registration. And now you'll be called an international non-governmental organization, where they also give you the government will also at times expect you to have some expatriates to work, being that this is an international organization. But also there's a lot of legal issues around there, because you're not going to pull, like if I want to register Circles for Adolescent Health in Tanzania, I cannot pull only Kenyans to go and work there. I may have a few to go, and then from within that country also, I'll have to get some individuals to work. So those are processes that comes after registration, and you are able to be told. Yeah. Very important to note, many times the international organization, because of their jurisdiction and their wider scale of work, they are able to attract a lot of funding because of course, a wider coverage. So they will always be able to attract, a bit larger scale funding than the local organization. However, if you look at the funding scale right now in the world, what is going on, you'll realize that that narrative and that usual norm is now even changing. It is changing now to our national organizations will be able to attract even more funding than how it used to be, that international organization will always attract more funding very, very easily. So that is also very important for you to know, and for you to know that it is also possible to register an international organization in other countries, and the said process really applies in both. Yeah, I've seen there is a hand.
Yes, Desire, but just before I allow Desire, just so that we have a clarification on the same. So when you do international, do you still maintain the same name, or do you have to change the name?
Yeah, when you want to do international, you may maintain the same name, or you may change the name. Let's say in Kenya, I have registered as Circles of Adolescent Health Kenya. That is what the Kenya regulatory body registered me. when I want to go to Tanzania, on arrival there, I realize another organization already have that name. Yeah, so if they have that name, then I have to look for another name. No wonder, if you look at these international organizations, you'll realize that in one country they're called A, in another country they're called B. So when I get there and I find my name has already been taken, I will have to look for another name to use within that country. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Desire Bikorimana, I've seen your hand has been up for a while. Please ask the question you wanted to ask. And then I also have another question from the participants.
Thank you.
Desire, unmute and talk.
Okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying if possible, you can give me like a little summary of what you have been talking about. So I just came in. I wanted to have somewhere to start. I got a bit lost. I don't know where you started and the points you've already talked about.
There will be a video. This recording is going to be shared directly after the recording. So I think you can also watch it on the same, but if you have any question, you can ask. She will answer you.
Okay. I got it.
Okay. So now there was a question. There's a question which is asking, how long does a board, it's actually like, let me say, like 3 maybe, so that I don't make it so long. How long does the board have to serve in their position?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So every organization decides on board members and how are they going to interact, including how long will they be there to serve. Now, all these are always well stipulated in the Constitution. An organization can say, once we have the board members, they will serve for 3 years, then we are going to bring in new board. Some of them can say, as after we've chosen our board members, they will serve as long as they are available. So this aspect of how board members are going to, exist and for how long and what are they going to do, their roles and everything, it has to be stipulated very well in your constitution so that it doesn't also bring constitutional conflicts within your organization. So it has to be outlined there, and everybody needs to know and understand that this is what our constitution talks about. Yeah.
On the same, if it's a limited term, then the founders will have to vacate the board, and won't it weaken the mission or the drive of the NGO if we have a short term of board members?
Yes, yes, there are organizations that they put limits, or at times they put rotational or something. They put limits on how the board members are going to serve the organization, even in different capacities. You'll find that the organization that the chair will only be a chair for 2 years, and then another person picks. And then you see, they keep rotating like that. We have to appreciate that organizations form these boards for very different reasons. And also the nature of work the board members are doing at times are different. They may need that rotation, and they may also need a lot of, new people coming in and leaving and all that. However, there are those organizations that really thrive with consistency. There are those organizations that really thrives with consistency. Therefore, they will want to keep one person for a bit of a longer time for stability. For example, new organizations such as the one I just registered, we still need stability. So we can't keep changing. We can't keep changing board members here and there and all that. But again, you find that those organizations which have stabilized, they have very good systems, they don't fear anything, nothing is going to go wrong because systems are very stable. Therefore, if they even change them, it doesn't affect the kind of work they're doing. Yeah. So, and constitution can always be changed. People review constitution. So at one point, they can review their constitution and say, we are going to have this rotational, we have to change boards after board members, after, this amount of time, we have to bring in somebody else and all that, So therefore, my answer for that will be this adversely remains with the nature of the organization, the stage at which organization is. As I've mentioned, when the organization is young, it needs very, very stable people. Yeah, it needs very, very stable people. And it needs that stability. When organization has stabilized, they can now do their things in a very, very systems have taken course and nothing changes because some leadership didn't work well. Then they don't mind changing them. They don't mind having rotational. They don't mind, just changing them here and there. So that will be my answer for that particular question.
Thank you very
and
much.
Everything is written in the constitution. When it comes to board members, how many they are going to be, how many male, how many females, what will be their roles, that has to come out very well in your constitution. And make sure before you even submit that constitution for registration, that is clearly outlined, because even the registering board is very interested to know how you are going to manage such, so that it doesn't become a crisis as you continue to implement. Yeah.
Is gender issue and is the gender balance an issue in NGO registration? Gender. Is it an issue?
Yes, it is. And also that one also depends with the country's legislation on gender issues. Remember, in Kenya, we have the 2/3 gender rule. 2/3 gender rule applies everywhere. It applies within the government and even out in the non-governmental organization. So the 2/3 gender rule applies for the organization. That is, they must see some male and female figures within the 5 people, meaning that for you to register in Kenya, 5 people, at least there should be either 2 female and 3 males, or 3 males and 2 female, not 4 males and 1 female, or 4 females and 1 male. So that one has to come out very clearly, so that the 2/3 gender rule is observed, and that is in Kenya. Very important also, it depends with what you apart from the law in Kenya on gender rule, it also depends what you want to work on. Many people across almost gender issues cuts across the whole field. So even the donors that you're going to talk to give you donation, they will check on the board and they will be like, what? Just board has only 5 men or 5 women, all of them. So they will see there is a lot of gender imbalance in that, and this can have issues. So for you just to put yourself strategically and you work towards doing the right thing correctly, then gender issues has to come in very well, and it has to be reflected in all spheres of the kind of work you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you. So the last part of the same question was, Can the founder be protected to remain on the board in the initial registration document?
Come again, can?
Can the founder or founders be protected to remain on the board in the initial registration document?
Yeah, so normally you find that during registration process, there must be this person who is going to run around with everything. And most of the time you find that this lies on the founders. Remember, it is the founder. The reality with everything is that it's the founder that is really trying to encourage even the other board members that this thing is going to work. So the founder has to be there. In many occasions, he cannot miss out to be in the board. So you'll realize that the founder will still be in the board. Yeah. And when the founder is in the board, it means that when the board names and details will be submitted to the NGO council or the NGO registering body, you'll realize that the founder will always be within that team. The founder is a very good engine in the whole thing. The founder carries the vision, the mission, carries it entirely, you know? So it is very, very important. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In the questions, you've answered them so well. There are no more other questions. So maybe if you want, you can wrap up if you have a summary of anything. And then anyone who wants to ask a question, maybe you can raise up your hand. But otherwise, I want to thank you very much. You've had a good session. So Maureen, maybe you can summarize for us if there's no other questions so that we see if we can wrap up the session.
Okay. Yeah. So what I can my parting shots on this, or the aspects I can really try and re-emphasize is to start an NGO. You'll realize that it requires not just a fee, like the fee you have to pay to the government and then that's it. So starting an NGO requires more than just money, okay? Starting an NGO requires hard work. You really have to work hard because you see those processes like out of the 20 or 30 people that you've assessed and you think, so-and-so can be part of my board, probably you'll talk to them. Some of them are going to decline. Some of them will tell you, oh, my time, you know, you just have to take it very positively and continue asking more people. Others will be very excited and will tell you, I'm joining. So it requires a lot of hard work. And it is not just because you have, if it is in Kenya, you have $160 you pay, it requires hard work. You also have to be very determined. Determination is very key in this process. So you have to be very determined. You have to have your goal. If your goal is to have that certificate, have it and hold on to it. And then, just to re-emphasize, and I don't know how I can re-emphasize more than this, you must have genuine desire to support others. You must have that genuine support as a person to support others, to support your community. Yeah. Because that genuine desire will be like the fuel that will be running you round across this. This is the fuel. This is what will be supporting you when those days you are low. You get communication from the NGO council. It is always negative. They tell you redo your constitution. They tell you this name has been taken. Look for another one. So that genuine desire is the one that will uplift you when everything else looks like they're not working out. So you have to remain on course. Yeah. As I said, starting and running NGO it's not very far from, it's almost similar to the process of running a company. It's just that now for NGO, first of all, issues like transparency, they have to be very open. You have to be very transparent, even to your board members. You have to be very transparent, and that transparency gives you that the teamwork spirit to continue. Yeah. And of course, as I said, with the company, at times you work to earn money, but in this field, you are not expecting any profit. But I'm not saying working in an NGO, you work for free. No, you will be raising funds, and those funds can pay for time of individuals who are maybe employed or who are, giving much of their time to the organization. It doesn't mean that the NGO work is always free work. No, it's not. It is paid, and at times you look at the way NGOs are run. They really cater for welfare of the people who work there, even better than at times what we see in the public sector. So you have to expect that. To wrap up, don't forget that you really have to be very strategic with identifying the problems of your community. So you have to identify the problem of your community with evidence. Therefore, you have to do your homework well, you have to read well, you have to, do a lot of research around that area. You have to talk to as many people who understand your subject. Yeah, you have to make them your friends and talk to them and ask them as many questions as possible, because you wouldn't want a situation whereby you register an NGO, then you stop there. We don't see you running around with it. Yeah. And then finally, as you bring in board members, you must think critically, even during that process of registration, of widening your partnership. And who are you going to work with? As one of the participants asked, how do you get the first money? How do you get, resources to run around with? Yeah. So the first money, the first resources, ideally, it comes from your social assets. It comes from your friend who will tell you there is grants there, there is this there. Apart even from the board members, they will be doing that as well. But you need such friends who will show you this, there is this here. I want to give in my time. Yeah. I have a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who has done for us website just for free. He told me that the first website I'll do for you, and he has done a perfect work. The website will be launched soon. Yeah. So from your friends, you'll find a friend maybe who can do for you social media account for your organization. Yeah. Or who can say, oh, I'll run for you your social media account for your organization as you are as you are becoming more stable. So those will be some of the things that I would re-emphasize. And to wrap up is that anybody who needs a side talk with me over the same, I am always very free and available. You can look for me. We are all connected on social media. We are also connected on WhatsApp, and we can continue this conversation from here. I know you cannot understand entirely everything from here, but small by small, bit by bit, when we talk to each other, you find that we get to understand it, and somebody who is attending this webinar today will report next time that he or she has registered an organization and is running. Thank you so much. And thanks all for joining. I am more than humbled to have talked to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Maureen. Before you close, I'm seeing there's a question here from Eric, whose signatures are on organization accounts.
All the signature for the, for the purpose of Kenya, they pick the 5 board members. You are all going to ask to sign, and then when it comes to account opening, then 3 for the registration, for you to get that certificate, 5 signatures has to go out. And for the account, the bank account, then there are 3 signatures for the chair, for the secretary, and for the treasurer. And usually the organization can advise bank, maybe we want 5 people to be signing on the checks, so that one happens. And in other places, if it is 2 or the 3 people, then they get to sign. So all that also organizations tend to agree, but when it comes to account opening, 3 signatures apply. When it comes to registration, 5 signatures must apply.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I would also like to thank you in a special way for creating time to come and teach us a lot. Personally, I've learned a lot, and I'm sure all members who participated today have also learned. And I also want to extend my gratitude to the attendance. If you didn't attend or register, we would not have had this session. So thank you very much also for creating time to come and listen to our presenter today. And also in a special way, I'd like to thank WMI for also giving us this time, for also hosting us and also giving us the opportunity so that we can share amongst ourselves. For sure, I'm sure we'll get a member who's going to register an NGO in 2021. There's a lot of
Thank
us.
you.
I mean, there's a lot of learning, and Maureen is ready. Anytime you want to ask questions, you can reach out on WhatsApp number. I think she can share the WhatsApp number in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Anytime, get in touch with her. So
Yes,
I think if you don't have any other questions, I can say thank you for your time and thank you for attending, and we can meet next time. Please encourage your colleagues also to attend. These sessions are really, really, we learn a lot out of them. Thank you, Maureen, and be blessed.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. And keep safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.